This is iRacing.
Last week's Temple of Speed gives way to the Alabama roller coaster this week, but the one driver whose stomach might be churning is James Berry as he sits on the precipice of a championship. We'll see if it's cheering or misery as we get ready for round 11 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Jake, this honestly might be my favorite track in North America.
It's a brilliant circuit, and the reason why is that it tests you and tests you and tests you. It has all the elevation change that is required to go and say, right, what can you do when you're going 270 degrees around the right-hander, your left-hand side tyre's screaming at you? What can you do when you've got to be aggressive on the brakes? And what can you do to manufacture your overtakes where there isn't a simple place on the circuit to make it happen? It rewards drivers who want to put the hard yards in, and I think in that sense, this circuit here in Birmingham, Alabama is a true driver's circuit.
It's a fascinating place. Why don't we take a quick look at it, though, with our track guide and see what makes up this circuit. Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. Located just east of Birmingham, Alabama, this is one of the newer circuits in American road racing. The track was built in 2003 by George Barber to go along with his Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, which can be seen appropriately from Museum Corner on the track. While the main circuit is the full course, which includes 16 turns over roughly 2.25 miles, there are also two lesser used layouts called the Short A and Short B courses. The track is known for its technical layout and hugely dramatic elevation changes. In every category of racing, it carries a reputation of making overtakes difficult. That's not to say it's impossible, with most passes happening into Charlotte's Web. Named for the spider sculpture outside the hairpin, it often suckers drivers into braking too deep with a sudden drop just as you attempt to slow the car down. That's not the most challenging part of the circuit, though. Museum Corner is reminiscent of turns like the corkscrew, with its blind entry, multiple apexes, and cliff-like plunge down a hill. IndyCar and IMSA have visited many times in the past decade, while motorcycle racing is also a regular staple here. Practice and precision are usually required to be able to find a fast lap, but there's a heavy dose of bravery also needed in a number of spots. Despite the track being very wide, accidents often collect multiple cars due to the lack of visibility over crests. All in all, this place proves tough to even seasoned veterans. But with the hillsides and trees providing beautiful natural viewing spaces and an immaculate facility, it's no wonder fans keep showing up in droves to watch the racing here. It is twisty, it is fast, and it is technical, Jake. Like you said, it's a real test.
And the spider's web, really critical as you head to the second half of the lap. You can get trapped in it very, very fast, and you are looking at where you can go and make runs. Turn 1's going to be one of the best places to pass, as is the run into turn number 5. But the key that you're looking at as well, going through those chicanes, 9, 10, 11, 12, that is the heartbreak turn 12, as you climb the crest over to turn 13. If you're brave, 14 is a spot you can get it done, but you need overlap in order to get that move. And this is one of those tracks where I think you are reliant on higher downforce and you're reliant on a great qualifying lap.
I think that's going to be such a huge part in how your race is going to go. And like we were saying, this race is going to be extremely important because the championship is close to being sealed as James Berry is up on points. Now, it gets a little bit wacky because they have 3 drop weeks in this series. The simplest way to think about it is that a fifth or better in today's race or next week's race will make James Berry champion, because Jack David Spickett, no matter what he does, would not be able to overtake him in points. So a clean race is really all James Berry needs in this one. Karthik Pai still looking to try and get himself his first win, sits in third, but he's been very consistent, way too far back to be able to try and take the championship on his end, though, unfortunately. Then Ilka Kotsalo trying to nip at the heels of the Texan, see if he can take that third away currently. A little farther down, Gernot Frische, Hans Sommer, both separated by only 2 points, and then it's only about 30 more points back to our new winner in the series. Josephine Becker finally claimed her first victory of her career in the Lotus 79s, up there and sitting in 8th because of the boost in points, although I believe she was already in the top 10 last week. So really has been having a phenomenal season. That's just the F1 standings. Let's head on over to the F2.
Yeah, and this is for drivers who have 3,000 I rating or less. And just looking at the field today, you're going to see not very many from that category. Craig Sandlin on top by 65 over Thomas Tuber, with Jacob Harberts then in third at 83 points adrift. It's then Byron Long with Alex Rasky then in 5th position, because Kurt Clapper is just 9 points back of that in P6. Brett Wayan, Jesse Brannon and Ben Summers all split by 1 point apiece. That shows you how close it is. 5 points back of that. Todd Herner looking to pull himself up through the order as we get set for what will be 31 laps of racing action today.
And they also have a team's championship that they keep track of. And Tyrrell is currently up at the top of that one. Frische and Rasky from McLaren are trying to get up there, but they need a good result today to try and close that down. Totoro Racing, Becker and Lochner are the ones contributing on that front, have taken it up to 3rd position. And then they've got a bit of a leap back down to Summers and Taylor as well. Things get a little tighter in that midfield with Ferrari, ATS, and Northern Winter all within about 21 points of one another. That could be really topsy-turvy for these final 2 races of the season. And for this penultimate round, just in case we've got viewers that are tuning in, Jake, run us through the details.
Yep, so 31 laps means it's a sprint format out there. There is no need to take a pit stop here today. They are running from light to flag, absolutely flat out. It's an open setup here, so everyone can build a car however they want to in order to put their times together on the board and say, look, I want to go about my business and do what I need to do in pace. Now, because you crashed the car, iRacing does have fast repairs, but not here today. There's no spare car to save you, and we are running in the iRacing official servers out there. So drive-through penalties come through at 17 instant points. Disqualification limit is at 25, but the walls are pretty close around this place, so getting 17 instant points is pretty much a case of a good result in itself in terms of getting all of those marks out there. Qualifying currently underway. I note something to you here, Joe. Jack David Spickett, he's on top on a 1:10.825. He's trying to do everything he can to get quicker, which includes becoming an honorary finish driver.
Yeah, he knows that he's got to try and be perfect these last 2 races if he hopes to have any opportunity to overtake James Berry. 0.03 of a second between himself and his title rival on that front row. Now, it is dry on the track, but look at how dark it is out there. That's because it's 5:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of heavy clouds overhead. I think we are going to have a dry to wet race potentially.
Well, that rain here is going to put the cat amongst the pigeons, because they have turned around. The weather forecast said rain unlikely. It's only category band 1 rain. It's blue rain. Barry West here we focus with, or as we like to call him, Nigel Mansell's body double out there. Look at him, Joe. He's really embraced the old school mentality of racing. Those are leather gloves.
Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah. You can see with the snap on with them as well. So he is doing everything he can to try and give himself the speed, even if it's just feeling like a real driver as he wraps up his qualifying. I think he's already taken his 2 laps before that, and the drivers are ready to go. No F2 drivers in this one. That is how high the strength of field is today. And above it all, Jack David Spickett is your quickest, managing to just narrowly beat out James Berry. And as wow, we'll have to talk about the rain once we get out of this, because I see some sprinkles already. Jack David Spickett on the pole with James Berry, as we said, starting next to Mikko Leno in 3rd and Ilkka Kodasalo in 4th. Gabri Martinez will be P5, Mickey Friesen in 6th, Dennis Kirakopoulos in the 7th spot, and then Timothy Reed on the outside of row 4.
Well, it's very lightly wet out there. That's going to be crucial to note. Kartik Pai is 9th. Matt White then rounds this one out in the top 10 with Xavier Sanchez and Josephine Becker. Ferran Grau and Jean-Francois Boscus are on row 7 with Pablo Rodriguez in 15th and Mikel Zabala then making up your top 16.
In 17th, Dylan Freckleton all the way down towards the bottom. Matthew Cockram next to him on the outside of row 9. Martin Reisman is in 19th. Then it is Barry West in 20th and Jason Clapper starting at the back of the field in 21st. I think he actually did set a qualifying time. Oh, it looks like he did not. So he is going to do his traditional run from the back. Now, some of the drivers saying that they haven't even tried this place on wet tires in this car. This is going to be a journey into the unknown. And I'm seeing a lot of drivers taking a long time to get out there. I think that there is some mental gymnastics happening to figure out, Jake, if they should start on the wets or not.
I think the dry tyre is the best tyre to start on in these conditions at the moment. The question, though, that's going to have to be asked here, Joe, is will it be the best race tyre if you can keep the temperature in it? Drivers like Timothy Reed, for example, Matt White starting on a dry tyre. Matthew Cockerham is starting on a dry tyre. The de facto condition you need the track to be is lightly wet for the wet tyre to work. Almost everybody has gone safe on wets.
Ooh, interesting. Reed and White and Cockram all on dries. Will they survive while the rest struggle as we take off and coming towards turn 1? Jack David Spickett got a good start. Barry will slot in behind him as the rest of the field carefully treads lightly through the left-hander and then into the Alabama roller coaster.
Yeah, working hard over the roller coaster, down through the exit of it and trying to work with drive then over the top. This track will have no running on it, so all the water for the first couple of laps is going to be standing. Matt White, good start, already up then into P6 and challenging here with Mickey Friesen into the hairpin. They go along and look to try and get the drive then out of 6, over to 7, 8 and 9. Kartik Pai working well, but Jack David Spickett's got a gap he wants. Remember, James Barry only needs to find a finish to get what he needs today.
A top 5, that is the number we need to watch for. Kartik Pai nearly going deep into the corner as farther down. Pablo Oglar gets all kinds of sideways coming out of Museum Corner. Can't really go 3 wide into turns number 10 and 11, but eventually they back out into single file here through this back part of the track.
Working up the hill, car off there. It's Mikko Leno then, who's spent a while being there, and there's also more cars off, which includes Mickey Friesen, who's run off the road, and Matt White. And the last thing he wants on dry tyres, Joe, is to go through wet grass.
That's going to cool them down so much. If anything, those on dry tires needed to blast through the field on this first lap and hope that it's going to be enough that they will be able to use it to their advantage, as Kartik Pai is on the attack here on Josephine Becker. But she is able to hold on to that 6th place for the time being. Ferran Grau in the Ferrari behind them. It looks pretty darn wet out there, but it is the numbers that will tell the tale on who is on the right tire.
Yeah, and the key here is that those on dries have lost a combined 5 places off of the start. Grau then finding his move then with Kartik Pai, trying to cut him back up and under, heading towards Museum Corner. So there's that sense of what's needed at the moment in what are treacherous conditions right now. Down the hill, into line, there is a little bit of spray being kicked up, but Joe, I'm going to note this here. It's not much. It's not dramatic enough that you're not going to see in front of you. These are still early conditions out there where you're just getting a light smattering. These are what you would call conditions that you don't want a wet tyre, you don't want a dry tyre, you want an intermediate. Becca sweeping around the outside of Cottasalo.
No such intermediate here in the sim, though. It is either wet or dry. Karthik Pai also struggling to get the throttle down as he chases. Cottasalo goes a little bit deeper into the penultimate turn, leaves the door open for Farron Grau, who tries to cut back underneath on the final turn, makes it a drag race down the main straight. Too wide into turn one often is a recipe for disaster, and that's in the dry. What about through the wet? They're going to try and hold on to it. Karthik Pai keeps his outside line, which becomes the inside for the Alabama roller coaster. He'll come down the hill, but he cannot get the throttle down. He's pinched under. Farron Grau with a great move.
Yeah, Farron Grau realizing exactly what he's all about here. He wants to just show that he is on it and then some. So I think he's now looking around and saying, okay, this is going to be what I want this circuit to be. I want to try and find my way to it. I want to make the S's and the tunnel turn ones that make my life easy. As Thabala back here in 15th spot is going to have himself a good old scrap here as he works through Xavier Sanchez. Then Heike 360 ES on Twitch, the former Porsche All-Star, no running in the rain, and he's struggling at the moment. He's down 5.
Practice definitely will come in handy. Jack David Spickett still leading, and by about a second and a half over James Berry for now. Both seem to be handling it decently. The other thing that I wonder about this, I've been looking at the radar, Jake, and it's only a small band of this predicted rain. Theoretically, it could stop raining before this race is over, and that'll make it all the more crazy.
It will, because you're starting to wonder, well, how quickly is this track going to dry? It's 23 degrees on track temperature at the moment, so you're going to have to try and play this game. Pablo Rodriguez, Jean-Francois Bosquet, in a battle right now, looking to work along the main straight here towards turn one, and realizes here over the roller coaster, the man who knows how to overtake better than anybody else in sim racing, Joe, has just made another one. Jason Clapper, it's all he does. It's how he makes his fun. Matt White in a scrap. Dry versus wet versus Mickey Friesen.
Remember, all these wet tires as well are kicking up a lot of this water off the racing line, so that might be helping White a little bit. He seems to be keeping decent pace with those around him. He is the highest car on the dry tires. In fact, the only one that isn't dead last in the field. Timothy Reed and Cochran have dropped all the way down to 20th and 21st. So Matt is handling his own. How long will the sprinkling last? Will it come back into his favor if this stops raining soon?
Well, he's got a problem here, Joe, and that problem is he has to stay to any proverbial dry line that's out there. Oh, massive kicker tail there from Farron Grau as he tries to stip it down. Matt White's trying to take lines off of the rubbered-in racing line, which is a little bit slipperier out there than the conventional line that's there. He's trying to take more karting lines to go and get that pace. But Matt White has to try and find the dry line on this circuit. If he doesn't have the dry line, Joe, he's going to be in trouble, because that is a very wet tyre on dry. And that's Gabriel Martinez in trouble a little bit coming over the American roller coaster and realizing after his 360 off the exit of turn one, goodbye to Miko Leno and Josephine Becker.
Ooh, rear got loose very early in that. Nice catch from Martinez. He'll fall down to 5th, though. Becker up to P4 now. She's up 8 positions, following up her win last week with a great performance in these early stages.
Yeah, she's been waiting a long time to get up then to that next level to say, I can go and challenge against the very best. And she had a near miss at the Nürburgring, and now found that at Monza. Here at Barber, she's looking very good again. And give her a season or two, Joe, she's going to fight for this title.
Back on board with Matt White, as I'm sure it is a frightening proposition inside that cockpit here, coming up over the tunnel turn now. You can see how the cars ahead are all over the place with their tails just back and forth and everywhere. That's Farron Grau currently in front of him. A bit of a train actually forming, I'm noticing. And at the front of it is Gabriel Martinez. Oh, we got a spinner in front. And that is going to be Ilka Cottasalo, the latest victim of these very tricky conditions.
Cottasalo could have ill-afforded that, and that's really cost him time. Now, Grau's going to go for it here, over the top of the American roller coaster, turn 2. Now you sit back with Matt White, looking to get drive, and he's getting a lovely run around Kartik Pai, who can't put the power down. Look at Matt White on the dry tyres, just able to get that going better as he gets the run forward. Now, one thing about these dry tyres, Joe, they've got less rolling resistance on them because there's less tread on the tyre, so that helps. But what won't help is if I'm down low on the inside and I can't put the power down because it's a little bit too slippery.
Yeah, and that's going to allow Kartik Pai a chance to try and hold on to this spot. Oh, they're going to try and go too wide down through Museum Corner, and he is going to hold on at least briefly, but round the outside, like you said, when he is not pinched, I think Matt White has great opportunities to make up spots, and he does get by the number 5 machine, although he's way wide off into the rumble strips. He's got to be careful of that because there is no doubt puddling water in those.
Yeah, they are going to puddle like nobody's business out there, and you have to be very, very aware of what's going on. I can confirm that Timothy Reed has come into the pits. He's got a set of wet tyres on, but he's not come back out again. So I think his day is probably written at this moment. Matt White, half slide, somehow saves it.
Oof, so he lost the spot, and in fact, he lost another one to Mickey Friesen, not just Kartik Pai, so down to 9th for him, but at least the car is still running behind him. Ilkka Kotasalo with his second spin in as many laps. And now he's going to see Dylan Freckleton, Pablo Hoglar try and go the long way around and overtake him.
Pablo Rodriguez will move through. Martin Reisman wants to eye this up as the 20 car in this race. He's up 6 spots. He wants to make it 7. And on the brakes he goes. Wide in front there is going to go. Then the driver Dylan Freckleton. So Hoglar then is going to set himself in. Rodriguez, Hoglar there. But still Reisman trying to put his foot down. But over to the museum. It's one line through here. You can't do too wide down to Museum Corner.
Well, tell that to Kartik Pai, as he did that last time around and made it work. In fact, he's the one that is still up ahead over the other car, Matt White, that tried it. We got a replay of what happened to Kotasalo on his second spin. This is down into turn 1. Remember, there's a big drop in elevation here. And interesting that it was very late in it, and it snapped quickly.
I think it's the issue that he's put the second rotation in as Matt White has had a big off then, and he's really struggling to get himself up to speed. So I think the dry tyre experiment really hasn't worked. He's got out on the AstroTurf and rumble strip on the outside, and I think this one's cost him his race. So he's going to be looking around at this going, okay, well, I'm still going to stay out, but, you know, it's not worked out there. And, oh, that's Tabala off the road at the final corner.
Gets it back on. Yeah, Matt White, I think, is committed at this point. He's got to kind of stick with it, especially since I think we're about halfway through the band of rain right now, from what I'm seeing on the radar. So it should definitely end before this race is over. Farron Grau versus Martinez. Looks like Grau's going to be able to overtake him down in a Museum Corner. That'll bump him to the top 5.
Farron Grau is absolutely flying. Top right, this was the Matt White spin. So he's looking to try and get the drive out over the curbs. He keeps it out of the wall. Very easy to aquaplane when you get into the grass there. But he's able to turn it around and basically continue on with his charge for, well, try and charge somewhere forward out there after all of that trouble. Grau really has done well here in this race. He started 13th on the grid, Joe. He's up then into that 5th spot. He's gained 8. The only other driver to gain 8 inside the top 10. There are 2 of them, Dylan Freckleton and Josephine Becker.
Great run out of the final turn by the number 16 car as he tries to hold back Gabri Martinez. This is where we've seen some problems here. Got to watch out for that curbing to the outside. I'm sure that is part of the issue that we're seeing with cars suddenly have a snap right on the exit. And there's also, well, when you have all this elevation change, Jake, no doubt there's probably a few rivers in places.
Yes, because as we all know, water falls to the tune of gravity, and gravity always goes down to the lowest possible place that it can. And so when you get this standing water at the bottom of hills, it makes life very, very difficult for you to go and navigate through. Gabriel Martinez understanding that he's going to need a superhero's drive today in this group of 4. And I'm noting behind, Pablo Rodriguez through on Dylan Freckleton, so Freckleton now only +7 for his day at the moment. Very interesting group of 4 here that's going to have to try and figure out quickly whether I want to be brave out there or not, and the more rain that falls on the circuit, the more that they're going to get hit with a wall of spray.
For fans of James Berry, he still runs in second. He's 3.5 seconds behind Spickett. So Jack still doing what he needs to do, but at this point, he needs James Berry to have a mistake out here, which, as we can see, is highly likely, as many a good driver have found themselves spun or off the circuit at some point during this race. There is your championship leader, currently running a few seconds behind his rival. Let's ride on board and see what it's like trying to handle this car.
Wow. Using that Momo steering wheel then into the hairpin, trying to get it to drive off the exit, counter steering once, twice, 3 times there off of the exit to make sure that the car would plant straight with the power down there from those all-terrain tyres, well, from those wet tyres. Now looking to hit the brakes here. Now for this next section, you can see you've got to attack the curb, and the last thing you want to do is attack Museum Corner on the curbs in the wet. You can drive it away off of the exit, but now this is where you need the car to be planted with as much downforce as you can put down into the machinery. And this is where James Barry, I think, realizes the gap's there down the road. All I've got to do is focus on my weather, focus on my drive, focus on my performance. And for the first time, I'm going to start saying this here, we are only 9 laps into a 31-lap race here, Joe. There's lap traffic.
Yeah, and that is because of Matt White taking the tires. So he's going to probably let these guys through, I imagine, since he's going to be close to the same pace, if not even still a little bit slower than him, although he hasn't exactly pulled off immediately. James Berry using all the track and then some out to the curb. There is Matt White. He's probably still getting those tires fully up to temperature themselves. And we do see a little bit of a racing line out there. Did you notice that little bit of lighter pavement where the cars were?
I do, and that little lighter pavement will be a saving grace for some as you look to try and power the pace down out there on track. Now, those who are on a wet tyre who are looking around trying to make sure that this race goes their way, Joe, they're going to be looking in the second half of this race when the rain does indeed intend to go and stop. We're about, 2/3 of the way through the toughest of the rain out there. If that rain does indeed intend to stop, you will turn around and go, well, what do I have to do? You have to find the wet parts of the circuit to keep the tyre temperatures cool. Nothing worse than a hot tyre. You just suffer like nobody's business.
And the only driver that's still committed to the dry tire is Matt Cockrum currently. Everybody else has switched to the wet. So I think the dry call probably wasn't the way to go. He's about 55 seconds behind the leader on a 1:23 lap right now. So, yeah, you probably wanted to start on the wets because even if they do have to switch to the dries, I don't think those dry tire runners are going to be able to make up the time during the second half of this one. Mickey Friesen in the meantime. He's behind Karthik Pai, still with Gabri Martinez. What was about a 5 or 6 car train has whittled down to 3.
Yeah, so Mickey Friesen realising here that Kartik Pai wants to get through. Gabri Martinez is still holding his ground very nicely just in front of them, but this is a case of I want to go and get my next move. I want to get my next position up there here. And in the early to mid stages, that always gives you the sense of where can I go. He gets a lovely run coming out there of turn 4. He'll now look to the hairpin here at 5. He'll try every which way. Outside it's going to have to be, but can he get that one to sit back as he looks to plant the power earlier? He's tentative to go and make that work. So I think he's struggling a little bit to say, hey, look, I can get this to drive the way I want to. He'll have to fall back into line. And, Gabri off in front of him. And now this is going to present the opportunity to Kartik Pai. And he'll turn around at that and go, I'm close. But close doesn't quite cut it.
Not playing horseshoes yet. And Karthik Pai wants to try and preserve his car, too. I think keeping it on the black stuff today is going to pay big dividends. So try to minimize the mistakes. As we watch from Martinez, looking back, and unfortunately it's a mistake right there for the Spaniard. That's going to allow the Texan to sneak underneath him and just get by in time.
Tunnel turn, even in the dry, Joe, is one of the toughest corners out there. You ask yourself to go into the left, and you put massive amount of negative G into the car. It wants to bottom out. It wants to understeer wide, and that's just in the dry. In the wet, ask yourself, try and do it right now when you've got something akin to an ice rink underneath you. It is so difficult.
Want to point out, as you can see on our tower, that JDS does have the fastest lap as well at a 1:20.5. Now, the reason that's important, that's 2 extra bonus points, because remember, Jack kind of needs to be perfect out there. So he's got the bonus points for the pole and bonus for the fastest lap currently. We'll see if that stays as is. In the meantime, Martinez is now under threat from Mickey Friesen. So will it be 2 positions lost in 2 laps for the number 8 car? Not through Museum Corner, as Friesen wasn't quite quick enough to get side by side. What's that?
I've just had a revelation, and it's the revelation that you've got 2 different splits out there. What happens if split 2, Joe? Oh, as Gabri catches it, and it's going to lose a place. If split 2 is dry, Joe, and there is a possibility that it will be, they might have a better average fastest lap pace than everyone else, and the split 2 scores are going to be the highest scores of the race week, not round 1. And basically, Jack Davis Pickett and James Barry would both be scoring less points than they'd want to.
Now, I'd have to double check. I thought from what I had read in the past that both sessions would be the same regardless, but I'll have to double check on that and see if I can get some information on how iRacing handles that. But in the meantime, yeah, you make a good point that could change the complexion of things if they do get a drier track out there. In the meantime, Reisman still working on Freckleton for 10th place. Top 10 potentially up for grabs, but Freckleton looks like he's got this handled coming down to the braking of Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, looking for the way. Reisman wants to try and get this drive out of the exit. He wants to try and claw his way over to the Museum Corner and say, look, I want to get there, but Dylan Freckleton's got more than enough power to work through, and these 2 up a combined 15 places in this race, +7 for Freckleton, +8 for Reisman, and so they've both made good runs up the order, and they realise and understand that's the aim of their game. Mikael Sabala here in 17th position, just trying to work his way through to the Museum Corner right now, with Boscus and Sanchez just in front. Little wide there, lucky against the grass there, with Matthew Cochran behind, who's now come out on a set of wet tyres. Reisman through, up into the top 10.
Yeah, Cochran gave up the ghost, so that's why he was allowing them past, knowing he's already a lap down, if not more. Dylan Freckleton now behind the number 20, tries to keep with him, does not want to lose opportunities to try and go by. He's going to have to get close, and as close as he gets, he runs out of racetrack by the end of the front straight. Both of them sliding over the course here.
Freckleton is giving everything he possibly can, and they are both just sliding about, hoping that they can hold the levels of grip that's there. You need to have lightning fast reflexes in the rain, because the car can snap at a moment's notice. Aggressive line in then from Reisman. He's trying to cut the corner as much as he can on the inside and plant it down on the outside. Look at that, just fishtailing away from Dylan Freckleton out there. It's almost like he's trying to hold on to a serpent, and the serpent's dragging him to the left and dragging him to the right and dragging him to the left, and he can't quite reel in the line.
Today it's more like you can't hurry the throttle pedal. You've got to be oh so patient out there. Even with the wet tires on, it looks diabolical. We'll point out that JDS was a little slower than Barry last lap by. Looks like in the most recent one, though, he picked it up, was able to go a 10th faster. So it came down briefly. That could have been a bit of the lap traffic changing that. Back to Zabala in the meantime versus Boscus. The 21 also watching just ahead to Sanchez, hoping that maybe he'll get a hiccup from him and see if he could get a position too.
And this is going to be where it gets very awkward in this race, because, Joe, I will say to you, this car is a lot easier to drive in this race in the conditions of wet while you start the race rather than you finish it. And you might think, oh, that's because you got all the tyre temperature. Oh, that's going to be because this, going to be because that. it's going to be because you've got the weight of the fuel in the car that helps you gather downforce. As these cars get lighter without refueling, they are going to lose that downforce of weight, and they're going to get slipperier, as we just see indicated by Jean-Francois Boscas.
That's a very good point, and we'll see who is able to handle what is going to be a twitchy car there at the end. They lose so much weight because of the thirsty engines on these things. The Ford Cosworth had very much been perfected by this point, but efficiency probably wasn't on the mind of the engineers at this point in Formula One. Jean-Francois still stays close behind Sanchez, who picked it up a little bit. Now it's gone up to about half a second ahead, keeping himself out of reach.
And that half a second here is going to feel like 2 seconds somewhere else. We'll take a little look at this here, top right corner of your screen. This is Pablo Rodriguez here, trying to fight his way through the final corner. And the back steps out as he has himself half on dry line, half on wet line.
That is a lot harder of a corner than you would think. It's definitely one that has caught me out, and I've seen it catch out real drivers many a time as well. So it just has that strange compression at the bottom. And Hoglar looked like maybe he was going to be caught for a brief moment by Martin. But the 20 who rocked up to the back of him after that green car made a mistake finds him starting to scoot away with extra pace. I can tell you, as we were watching this, that Boscas got almost to the gearbox of Sanchez. So that was getting enticing. And as we cut back to it, yeah, it's a little bit closer than it was before.
Fighting hard out of Charlotte's Web then and moving over to the museum corner. This is where Boscas, I think, eyes up here and knows that he's got to be really switched on into the second half of this race. You've spent your time building up a race like this, Joe. Now you've got to try and execute on what you've tried to do. Sabala looks really strong here, heading into the S's now. 10 and 11, well, 9 and 10, 11 and 12 to follow, which is the tunnel turn. So now into turn 11, you dip it down the hill. You look to try and just drive it with everything, a massive wiggle through the middle of the corner. But critically, Sabala was trying to take an alternative line and just couldn't gather any pace off of it.
You know how earlier I had predicted that Matt...
around.
Oh, another one for Pablo. And
Barry doesn't look happy either.
Well, Barry just got passed by Matt White. And that's what I was just about to talk about, was that Matt has not been overtaken by the leaders yet. I thought that he was going to be a little bit slower than them, but I'm not sure if it's the fact that he has fresher tires. Because remember, we weren't sure how wet it was going to be at the start. And maybe that has chewed up some of the tread, meaning they're not as effective as fresh new wets.
Very much so. I think you're going to see the advantage there of having tread versus not having tread. And Matt White, I think, has been keeping Jack David Spickett at an arm's length behind and saying, look, I'm not going to help. But what isn't helping is that Jack David Spickett now gets dirty air from the car in front. And look at that gap tiptoe for the briefest moment there, Joe, to 1.7 seconds.
Oh, and there you go. I think he got the message. He saw the blue flag, decided this isn't my fight. And there's the spin, the second spin from Hoglar. Woo! That was a good avoidance by Martin as well.
Yeah, Martin Reisman had to do everything he could to avoid that spin, and he's been looking around and saying, okay, I've still got my ways forward, just avoid the contact and make life easy. Jack David Spickett, don't get me wrong, he's doing everything he's needed to do. He's had to try and drive faultless here to the end of this season. There's been a lot of, talking about this rivalry between him and James Barry, how much they have been pushing each other to the limits, how close they were. They had the contact at St. Petersburg where Jack David Spickett went on to win. And then Monza, I think, was the big difference maker. If it not for Marco Nurmela, Jack David Spickett, I argue, would be in a much better position than he is right now.
Yeah, his 3 missed races put him under the gun, and he could not have afforded that incident. It's not over yet, but it's certainly getting close to being so. He's trying his darndest to make up for that. James Barry back by about 2 seconds, and it looks like Matt White was a little bit nicer about letting him by quicker. I don't know if there's any alliances out there, but it does make me question.
Well, I don't think there is between Matt White and anyone else. It's the first time I've seen him this season. So this is just a case of, if you're close enough, I'll let you go. And James Barry here trying to drive it off the exit. He's still struggling for a bit of grip here as we now sit ourselves into position. And that is Pablo Rodriguez then losing out places here and missing the front right wing. He's just had a spin go around and he's tagged Dylan Freckleton with it as well. So that's thrown him off the road too. So watch this here. Has an issue just after the tunnel turn through turn 13. Loops it around. Freckleton tries to avoid on the outside and he gets tipped.
Oh, and behind him, that was Cotasalo, I think, who had to slow down tremendously to avoid it. Yeah, both drivers, I think, just really kind of innocent in that whole incident. That was all down to Rodriguez, unfortunately losing control. Wrong place, wrong time. They could not avoid. Boskus, he's been giving us lots of fun. Will he give us some more? Zabala takes a look down to the inside, but he's not quite close enough. In the meantime, Jean-Francois on Sanchez. Oh, but he gets greedy on the throttle and the tail gives way.
Joe, the rain stopped.
Well, parts of the track, apparently it's looking like it's coming down on our cameras for now. But yeah, you're right. It should be ending here shortly because according to our radar, we're not seeing any more precipitation that should be coming the way of the drivers. So I think you're right that we should see these droplets cease soon.
Yeah, so they'll be looking at that, waiting for it to go. Of course, they'll be still dealing with the spray, and the dry line very firmly has now formed up. Look at it here as they walk through. Tabala then running a little bit deep over the grass. That's going to cost him the time. And back upwards then of half a second gets dropped because of it. Sanchez now under pressure. Look at Jean-Francois Boskus. He cannot get much closer without making a move. He dives it for the inside. But look at the drive there from a man who knows just how good it is to drive in Formula cars out there. He's a staple with our Skip Barber Sim series.
And as he continues to hound the pair of them, he's going to try the wide line, as we said, looking for a little grit and dirt off of the slick rubbered and racing line to try and find a better launch. He does, but he nearly loses it up and over turn 4. He'll try to hold the inside. He keeps his nose down in there, but he's chopped off as Boskus is having none of it. An amazing battle and a lot of trust between these drivers.
And just in front of them, here is James Barry's teammate, Dennis Kyriakopoulos, as he fights with Jason Clapper, who's up to 13th spot. A gain of 8 in the race for him. He'll join the crew at gains of 8. Reisman, the biggest gainer, at 10. Boskus still can't find his way through right now. And it's the case of he's got the most experience out there, but when it comes to rain, I think almost everyone's on the similar playing field. You only get 1 or 2 wet races a season.
So we saw down through Museum Corner, it looked like the rain had stopped. Over here on this side of the track, it's still coming down a little bit. But as we watch the 21 go the long way around of Sanchez, my goodness, he made that one look easy. And that is Kyriakopoulos. That is still for position.
Not done yet. Here he comes back. Xavier Sanchez. To turn 1, tries the inside, outside line there for Boskus. He runs a bit deep, but he saves it. And now look at it. Zabala gets himself into play, trying to go the long way around of Sanchez, and he's going to now look to put the power down earlier. Wow. What a lovely move.
Amazing. Sanchez looking like he's not having the best of laps here. Can he get 2 for 2? Will Zabala as he goes down to the inside of turn 5? But the answer's no. And unfortunately for Dylan Freckleton, looks like he's hit incident points. He's got a black flag.
Oh, that's going to hurt, and I wasn't expecting to see that today, but Dylan Freckleton now is going to have to dive down pit lane and take that drive and realise, okay, all my work, all my hard effort then is going to be gone. Zabala then still going as we head onto the T-cam, working through here the left and right of 9 and 10. 11 and 12 immediately follow on in suit, and now through turn 11, how aggro do you want to be here through turn 12? And you can see how much you want it. Boskus slides out, and here comes Zabala then to go through. So suddenly after making places, they're going to start being dropped again as in comes Freckleton for the penalty serve.
Zabala rising to the occasion with that outside line. Can he make another one as he heads down towards the inside line this time of turn 1? And Dennis, he's going to try and fight it. He sends it in deep. I thought maybe he'd back out of it. And it looks like that's another one for Mikael, who really enjoys this point of the race, which I'd say that we've now gotten through the rain. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, and you can see how much Kyriakopoulos struggles then to put the power down the way he wants to. He takes a more conventional line at this point, and now Gabriel Martinez has the run on Mickey Friesen, gets him done through 11 into the tunnel turner, turn 12. Thank you very much. That is a very well thought out pass.
Gabri probably could have been a little bit higher up in this race if it weren't for his own mistakes. It seems like he's coming to the fore late in it. Some of the drivers may be appreciating the track a little bit better, and the drying line is getting lighter and lighter, but 8 laps to go. I don't think that's enough time to make sense to change the tires. It's going to be drivers searching around soon.
I think it will be. It's too late, basically. I think with these cars as well, Joe, I want to point this out. Unless you're going to lose upwards of 45 seconds by staying out on these cars, you're not going to get a quick change out there, because it's not like what you see in the modern day where you've got these lovely cases of, you've got these rattle guns that help you make it happen, as Jean-Francois Bosco side by side again as the move comes down to the inside from Xavier Sanchez doesn't get there. It's also a case, it has to be noted, that you've got each individual nut and bolt to go and change on the tyre, and it takes an eternity out there.
Yeah, much longer stop. Matt White, who did change his tires, 21 seconds I'm seeing. In fact, Dylan Freckleton has come to his pit stall. I wonder if he's just calling it instead of serving that drive-through and saying his day is over. Jean-Francois looking a little bit like a fish in the wet there as the tail is all over the place. And Sanchez says, thank you. I'll take that 15th right back.
Yeah, absolutely take it. It's a long pit stop here to change the tyres. It's not the longest stop you can have in iRacing, Joe. We actually worked it out. It's actually filling up the tank of the Porsche Type R car that's out there. We managed to fill up that car in electric in about 5 minutes.
Dylan Freckleton is coming back out and on dry tires. So he's going to be the guinea pig for everybody else. And what has he got to lose here? I don't blame him for trying to do something different. Oh, and Reisman. Oh, okay. So a few drivers feeling like it is worth some time.
I'm not sure it's going to be worth as much as everyone's saying it is. So I'd be looking around at this. Reisman is off of the jacks now and looking to get himself away. Did a 1:22 last lap, and he's done a 1:54. So that would indicate he's lost about half a minute making this decision to change, and it'll be about 40 seconds by the time he gets out the pits behind Matthew Cockerham, and a lap down in this one. But it might be here, Joe, to take the fastest lap bonus points away.
Yeah, James Barry knows that he can make life harder for Spickett, so he's now got it down to 20.2. But there's your reference point. That's the fastest lap on the wet tires right now. So we'll get a direct one-to-one once we start to see what Freckleton and Reisman can do. We ride on board with Martin, who still needs to get those tires up to temperature, mind you. So I don't know if it'll happen the first lap, but we will have to watch like a hawk.
We will, working his way down to the museum corner, driving it about and saying, hey, look, I want to try and get myself up to temperature and quickly here in this. Give myself a couple laps and then really go out for it. I note as well, look at the group of cars that he's got in front of him here. It's Matthew Cockerham, and then he's got Timothy Reed, and then the leading duo of Spickett and Barry. And look at what James Barry and Jack David Spickett are about to encroach on.
Got a little bit of side-by-side here with Boscus, with the leaders just starting to appear in the background. And almost coming together for a brief moment. Jean-Francois is not afraid of going close to the other cars. Barry knocking that fastest lap down once again to a 1:19. This means with consecutive laps, his gap is down to 1.5 seconds.
He is just taking full advantage of them. Kyriakopoulos moves over very graciously for his own teammate there as they go through. Wide line taken by the likes of Jean-Francois Boscus. He can't let this go easily because of the fact that he's got Xavier Sanchez behind. He hits the brakes, lets it go. Now they're going to be side by side almost again as they drop down the hill for Museum Corner, and James Barry is now on the train.
Can he get through there? Reisman, by the way, did have a spin out there, so that's going to compromise some of our time watching that. We're hearing he might have damage as well. Freckleton. Oh, Freckleton, though. Now fastest on the track. Oh, he was. And he just went off as well at the Alabama roller coaster.
Yeah, no help there. Martin Reisman second spin in the lap. He just dipped a tyre into the water. The first time and second time will be the same. He's got suspension damage then, and so he's trying to just limp that one back home and say, I can get that back. But it's clear now. Dry tyres are the fastest tyre, but you've not got time to go on them. So I think Jack David Spickett can kiss 2 points goodbye.
Yeah, well, I guess the one thing for him is that it'll be Freckleton potentially who's got that. Freckleton didn't hit anything. He's probably going to be able to take those fastest laps further and further. Don't know how well these wet tires will last with this track drying. Clearly, they are quickening up with less water out on the circuit. There is Dylan Freckleton, who probably would have made up a number of spots here with the very fast car clearly that he's got right now. And he's also watching that dry line. Is look at how low the sun is getting in the sky here, and making sure that he does not go off of these tire tracks that have formed out on the track.
Joe, he's from the Isle of Man. It rains every other day there.
No doubt, a bit used to it. And we're hearing that Martin is taking some repairs. Interesting that he did not have a meatball flag. So he seems to have managed to damage the suspension, but not enough for it to be a major issue. Oh, you could see how much he had to lift there. Dylan Freckleton coming over the crest to turn 4. Another car off into the dirt in front of them.
Yeah, that's Mickey Friesen by the looks of things there, who's around, and he will drop places then as he's just tiptoed off the road, and he's actually gone a mile off the road, outbraking himself, trying to stay with Gabriel Martinez. So that's going to be him down the order then, and Mickey behind Ilka Cotasalo now for position. So that's Cotasalo back up into 8th place with it. There's Jack David Spickett, 2.5 laps to go, still under pressure as he heads out of Charlotte's Web. Sanchez still fighting, and he cannot turn where he wants to.
These three have been going at it for quite a while now. That's something I think they'll be able to mull over amongst each other for many a time, because this has been a fantastic back and forth. Meanwhile, down through the museum corner, Sanchez cannot quite get to the tail end of Boscus that time. Will this be a factor for any other battles trying to come through? Because it's not just the leaders, let's not forget. Leno, Becker trying to come up on them, but it looks like they are about 5 seconds apart, so unless they drop a lot of time. And Freckleton has now cut it down to a 1:17. It's a too little, too late situation for the number 11, unfortunately.
Oh, look at this. Jason Clapper, Pablo Rodriguez, another big battle that's happening here. Barry West is watching on. Mikel Sabala as well. And this is with 2 laps to go. Jack David Spickett with a tenuous 1.4 second gap at the front of the field. James Barry's trying to do everything he can to close it down. But this battle right now is probably the one that if something happens here, it affects the leaders.
It's a good point. They've got to be careful if they start to see them approaching. Because, yes, their battle is important, but you certainly don't want to have an effect on the championship. So they break 4 museum, corner down through 7, 8, and then into 9. We're hearing that Jean-Francois Boscus had a bit of an off. He's still within about half a second, so must not have been a major one trying to keep up with Xavier Sanchez. Let's see what exactly happened. Looks like Charlotte's Web briefly ensnared a fly, but he snuck out of it.
Yeah, just about got away with it and was able to continue on over the top of the crest. Jason Clapper remaining steadfast in trying to get his top 10, but Pablo Rodriguez is doing everything he can to try and keep this together. This is Herculean with the damage to the front of the car. Now comes the drive then onto the straight. Defensive line into the water they go. White flag being waved for them because Jack David Spickett is there behind them and trying to give everything he can. Pablo Rodriguez holds defense. Clapper is too far wide through. We'll try Mikel Zabala down on the inside, and he's just about going to hold it. 1 second, the gap now at the front.
This is not ideal for JDS. He can see this battling in front of him. If it keeps up, no doubt he's going to catch them. Oh, well, that's going to take one car out of the equation. Zabala off the course down at Charlotte's Web and returns without hitting anything. So there's one down. What about the likes of Clapper and Hoglar as they come down the hill? Once again, both very much pushing, but the track so dry at this stage. You can see the tires are crying enough.
They are, but you turn around, you see this margin, it's 8/10. Oh, close to Jason Clapper want to be on the run to the tunnel turn because he's looking around here and saying, I want it. They'll get another lap at this rate, another big slide, but Jack David Spickett, he's just got to hit his marks now.
It might not be enough for a title for Jack David Spickett. He can take some solace in knowing that this was a moral victory today. The number 2 will take the win in horrible conditions out here at Barber Motorsports Park. But James Barry, by our math, unofficially is your champion with that second place.
And unofficially will be your first ever championship, Mr. James Barry, and the hard work and dedication that's come in from him is magnificent here, Joe. He's joined this series in from the radicals in terms of the way he's transferred his skills. That is a championship where you absolutely have to know where to place your car, right place, right time, and James Barry, just parking it up to the side, knows how much it was worth there to go for it and battle for it. But this will still go for another lap here, and Clapper still can't get his margin on Pablo Rodriguez. Leno is third, Becker is fourth.
Clapper just hassling him every single corner, trying to see if he could find an opening. But despite the damage, Freckleton takes the fastest lap again on that last time by. Great run coming out of turn 11, side by side, coming down towards the tunnel turn. Hoglar will once again successfully defend the first half. What about the second half? Over the crest, Clapper manages to get underneath, but no dice as they come around the final turn. He's trying to set himself up. He looks for the launch as he diamonds off the penultimate turn, but there is a car right in his way. There is no place to take the speed. What a defense from Pablo all the way to the finish.
That's what you call holding on, gritty, determined. It's a brilliant finish out there. Jason Clapper, for all of his experience, couldn't find the way to make that work, but the spider's web catches more drivers out. But those two that have been at the top are proving again why they are top billing right now in this series, Joe.
Wow. We'll have to remember this one. It is one for the ages, as Jack David Spickett may have claimed the win, but we believe James Barry is your champion with that second place. Nico Leno was third, as Josephine Becker with a nice top 5 finishing fourth. Farron Grau, P5 for him. Karthik Pai was in tons of battles out there in sixth. Gabri Martinez eventually worked his way back up to 7th after a mistake or two, and then Ilka Kotosalo takes an 8th.
9th position then goes the way of Mickey Friesen, almost a minute off with Pablo Rodriguez, Hoglar, and Jason Clapper, your biggest gainer, plus 10. They're in 11th spot, unable to find his way through. Mikel Thabala then finishes ahead of Xavier Sanchez with Jean-Francois Boscus in 14th. Matt White, who gambled on a dry tyre to begin the race, he's 15th with Dennis Kiriakopoulos, then finishing off in 16th space.
17th to Dylan Freckleton. Fastest lap of the race, so there's 2 bonus points at least for him, but he was a lap down. Barry West was 18th, and Timothy Reed 19th. Matt Cockram 20th, and Martin Reisman came home in 21st. I think all cars did see the checkered flag impressively on this one, which is a bit of a shock considering how much they were dealing with. Let's have a chat with James Barry, see if he agrees with us on the math. James, from what we can tell, that second place should have clinched the title for you. How was it out there in those wet conditions?
Yeah, hi guys. No, absolutely not. I'm not the champion yet, and Jack's in a great position, so sorry. Yeah, according to my maths, I mean, he had 6 really good rounds before today. Obviously now the 7th one has been really, really great for him. Perfect, well, close to perfect. Yeah, I was just saying to him, his best 7 are a lot better than my best 7, so I think he just needs a top 10 next week, and he's got the championship. So, you're counting 8 weeks, right?
We thought 3 drops.
3?
Is it 4 drops for this series?
I don't know. It'd be good if someone could tell me, because yeah, that matters quite a lot.
If it's 3 drops by our math, that should be it. I don't think he can catch up to you.
I'm gonna interject here and say that at this moment, only 2 drops are being counted on the standings at this stage. Whether they will count to a 3rd drop and a 4th drop, I don't know. But for the moment, I've taken the look at this here and say it's 3 drops for me at the moment. I'll go back and look at some other series, and I'll get more of a word for you in a moment.
All right.
All right.
Well, he's working on that. Let's talk about this race in general. We saw that there was a chance of rain, and we didn't think that it would be coming almost immediately. As soon as you guys gridded up, we could see it sprinkling down. How long did it take you to try and figure out which was the right tire?
Yeah, it didn't take me too long. I got pretty excited with the rain because I knew. Jack's just messaged me saying it's 4 drops. So yeah, I think he's in prime position now. But yeah, I was so I knew that I needed kind of something to happen to Jack ideally, because if he gets 2 really good results at the end of the season, then he's going to win the title. So yeah, got pretty excited, and then was just looking at the chance of rain. And I did a wet race yesterday, and I kind of knew I knew even with a lightly wet track, it was best to go on wets, because the dries, it's just too much risk. If you touch a wet patch, you just die instantly. So yeah, went straight onto the wets, just got my setup going, but a bit more rear downforce. And then yeah, went for it. And obviously, it's a learning process through the whole race, and the track changed quite a lot during the race because it was getting wetter at first, and then it got a lot drier towards the end. And I think you saw some fastest laps from some guys who went onto dry tires at the end there. So that was something that I was thinking about for the last 7 or 8 laps, thinking if there's any possibility I should put the dries on and maybe put pressure on Jack that way. But in the end, I think I would have probably crashed if I hadn't done that, and it was too late in the end. So yeah, really fun race.
Yeah, our 2 drivers that did put them on at the end both had offs during that. So yeah, it looked like even if you did try it, it was very, very risky. What did those used wet tires feel like towards the end? Were you having to search for the moisture?
No, I saw Jack was, but I don't know enough about the driving in the wet, to be honest, to know if the tyres are overheating at that point or what's going on. So I just did my normal line, stuck to the dry lines, and went for it. And I had good pace. I was catching him towards the end. Maybe he was taking it a bit cautious. I don't know. But it was really fun to drive, as I said. And well done to Jack.
Well, well done to you as well. Still a podium position in what looked like it was white knuckle that entire race long. You both did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.
That was James Berry, who came home with 2nd place. A little bit farther down was Barry West, I believe. Jake, would you like to have a chat with James, or are you are you still working over there?
I am very much mathing at this moment in time, so Joe, I'll let you have it.
All right, I'll talk to Barry West. As Barry, from the other side of the coin, we talked to the front runners on this one. What was it like farther back in the field, where no doubt you had tons of spray to deal with?
It wasn't so bad. I was far enough back not to have too much spray. So it was just the only problem I had with this race is my confidence, because that's the 3rd wet race I've done. And the first race without so many incidents and so many spins. So I just making sure I didn't do anything silly. And it paid off, got 3 places. So yeah, I just didn't want to fight anybody because it was a bit slippy, to say the least.
I can understand. And iRacing has said in the latest dev blog that they're going to work with the communities about possibly implementing more rain. Should I take it that you're one that would not like more of these races to show up on the schedule?
Well, funny enough, I was okay at the beginning of the races when there's lots of rain usually. This is why I was a bit worried about the end of this one, because it was going to dry up a bit, which was I was a bit tentative. But it was okay towards the end. But yeah, I think the problem is you give the curbs too much respect. You can't see any puddles. And it's almost as if the puddles don't give you a problem. No aquaplane or anything. I don't know. But I mean, take for instance turn 1, another race. I lost it twice on turn 1, consecutive laps. So did Fabian, I think, and we couldn't understand why it happened, because it was the same line, and there's these countless cars lose it on turn one, and then the car behind it lose it, and there's no rhyme or reason. I mean, you're not braking, you're just turning the car. Whether it's too much speed or what, I don't know, but it just seems to be a bit inconsistent. That was, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. It is fun, I suppose, in a masochistic sort of way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to describe the rain. Well, I mean, congratulations on seeing the finish. We were amazed that there were so many cars that got to the checkered flag. I think, again, the Lotus 79 is a great testament to the spirit of racing here on the sim.
Yeah, I was hoping there could be more, to be honest. But yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah, it was good. Glad to finish. Yeah.
And that was Barry West, who came home in 18th today in the number 19 machine. So next race, which should be dry, thankfully, even though Suzuka known for its wet races as well, going to be our season finale, which feels appropriate for a classic car, a place that has held many a season finale. But we don't just have Suzuka coming, of course. We've got the Queen City Formula Series going to Monza. So that'll be fun heading on over there, where they will have the classic Grand Prix version with all the chicanes into it, unlike what we often see here with the Lotus 79s. But before we close out, Jake, have you had enough time to rack your brains?
I have.
Okay,
Championship is still alive. James Barry is going to walk into the final round of the championship with a 45-point lead over Jack David Spickett. Jack David Spickett's 8th best result right now is 38 points. James Barry's 8th best result right now is 111 race points out there. As far as this goes, and this is just commentator math, so take it for what it is, because we thought he was champion, then someone decided, oh yeah, it's 4 drops in this series. I have it that Jack David Spickett needs 106 points to guarantee the title, and that's if James Barry takes all points available. A top 3 for Jack David Spickett guarantees the title, but if James Barry cannot improve on 111 points, then Jack David Spickett only needs 83 championship points to take the title. Otherwise, it goes the way of James Barry for his first.
All right, there we go. So apologies for the information earlier. We just had a little bit of a hiccup on what qualified for the points, but it sets us up for a fascinating season finale at Suzuka. That's going to be, I mean, as great as this is looking for that one, it's going to be hard to top today's race, Jake.
It is, because of the fact that we had that wet condition. Jack David Spickett kept this race out at an arm's length, and James Barry did his best. He was closing in late, and I think he was better when the track started drying out. He just ran out of time today and couldn't quite get the job done. But we have seen it before, that those two have a history of coming together. They came together at St. Petersburg. James Barry spun out at Brands Hatch. There have been chances all season to go and get this to happen, and suddenly Jack David Spickett just needs a quiet race inside the top 3 to go and get this title. Will that happen? It depends who turns up, and who turns up at arguably the greatest circuit to end a championship, which is not called Interlagos, Suzuka.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some good ones that you could add to that great finale tracks for Formula One cars. But that is going to end things for us today for the time being. So a big thank you, of course, to our team, including Jake, as well as Dougie and Christian. Make sure and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.